There are plenty of portable DAC amps in the market. While AudioQuest and FIO seem to occupy audiophile discussions about such gear, alternative brands like Astral & Kern and hifi have brought more stuff onto the table. Hidizs also has decided to throw their weight behind a new portable amp DAC. This is the XO, a single-ended and balanced dongle DAC. The XO is a new product up for release on the Hidizs website. It will cost under $100, and if you buy it now, will cost about $89. Let's see what this device can offer. The XO does 16 times MQA unfolding and uses dual ES9219C DAC chips. This DAC is the same one used in the FIO BTR7, the hifi Uno DAC, and the Ibasso DC5. The XO is compatible with the hibi music app, has both 3.5mm and balanced 2.5mm headphone outputs, and connects via USB-C. The XO is slightly larger than a typical USB flash drive. It is made entirely of metal. The headphone outputs are at the top, the USB port at the bottom. The face of the XO presents two buttons in an XO button configuration. See what they did? The sides of the device have machined windows exposing the LEDs on either side. The two buttons are tactile, clicky, and responsive. The O button lets you select the filter modes. The X button activates or deactivates the RGB lights. You can cycle among 15 lighting presets. The O button has an LED backlight as well. This will always illuminate when the device is powered. Hidizs says that there are two filter modes you can activate through the O button. They claim that you will get, quote, two different sound styles. Hidizs indicated to me that these filters are the typical PCM filters that you will find on any DAC. On the XO, these are the linear phase fast roll-off and the hybrid fast roll-off. The graphs which Hidizs sent me are not particularly clear. Both filters clearly kick in well beyond 10 kHz. Since these seem to be no different from other PCM filters, it appears that the XO's filters start near 20 kHz. The O button's LED will change among 5 colors to indicate sampling rate. The O button LED will flash either red or blue to indicate which of the two PCM filters is active. As for power output, Hidizs says that we should expect 78 milliwatts at 32 ohms from the single-ended and 195 milliwatts at 32 ohms through balanced. Overall, the XO is an impressively machined device. It's a gamer vibe which may not suit everybody. Hence, you can turn off the LEDs if you don't like them. The specifications are respectable, but I wish that we had more concrete information about the DAC filters instead of having to guess about it. I conducted a test on the XO using my typical methodology. I listened to the XO for several months using various headphones and sources. This includes pairing the XO with my Mac, PC, iPhone, and LG V30. I used numerous IEMs, including the 7Hz Timeless and the Eternal, Moondrop Stellaris, and Final Audio B2. I listened with headphones, including but not limited to the HD6XX, LCD1, Aventone Planar, Allo Audio S4X and S5X, Rode NTH100, and the AKG K371. I listened to my test playlist on Amazon Music HD, my music library, random tracks suggested on Amazon, watched videos on YouTube, movies on my devices, and of course listened to podcasts. In the next phase of testing, I compared the XO against alternatives in a true A/B test. I chose the AudioQuest Dragonfly Cobalt, FIO BTR7, Eco Zerta ITM03, and the Low 2PAW S1. I did not use any EQ for these products. I plugged the XO and one of these competitors into the same PC and Mac and sent signal to two devices at once. On my PC, I used Voicemeeter Banana. On Mac, I set up a multi-output device. I then used a passive A/B switch from the 3.5mm ports on all devices. I listened to each device using my Aventone Planar, Allo Audio S4X and S5X, the HD6XX, and the LCD1. In the third phase, I listened to each device but also activated the XO's filters. I wanted to determine if I could, in an A/B test, hear any difference with the XO's filters applied. Throughout all the A/B tests, I made sure to volume match. Finally, in the fourth test, I checked for various headphones and IEMs in ascending impedances to determine if the XO struggled with powering typical gear. In the first phase of testing, I simply used the XO by itself. For several months, I plugged it into various sources and utilized a wide collection of IEMs and headphones. I never encountered a usability problem with the XO. Every device, Mac, PC, Android, recognized the XO. I had no need to search for compliant drivers. In fact, the XO's drivers auto-installed in the background on my Windows machine and showed up as Hidizs XO DAC amp in the sound output selection menu. The buttons presented no problems over the several months of use. The lighting effects are bright and, of course, varied. All in all, I never noticed any oddities with the XO. I did not hear any distortion or other obvious noise. None of the applications I used for music crashed or had issues connecting to the XO. Now, on to the second phase of testing. This is where I did head-to-head true A/B tests. Remember, volume match tests are critical in making sure you're getting an accurate or as near an accurate impression as you can. This is why it's imperative to keep listening, fine-tuning the volume through software or hardware. Once volume matched, the XO sounded identical to the comparative DACs. There was not a single obvious difference between it and the Cobalt, the PAW S1, BTR7, or the ITM03. Of course, I had to repeatedly alter the volumes whenever I switched products. On some occasions, it sounded like one product was a little bit clearer or had a bit more bass impact, but after continued listening and more careful volume adjustment, those differences always disappeared. Never once did I experience euphoric transcendence from any of these products compared to any other. In other words, no, the more expensive Cobalt or BTR7 or PAW S1 did not sound more dynamic or clear or simply better. In short, every single one of these devices, when compared head-to-head in true A/B tests in a volume-matched scenario, rendered exactly the same sound. These are transparent, neutral DAC amps. Now, let's turn to the DAC filters implemented on the XO. Recall, we have two flavors of fast roll-off, which according to the graph provided by Hidizs, kick in well above 10 kHz. If you review the ES9219 datasheet, you will see that ESS refers to these as typical PCM filters whose frequency response changes apparently near 20 kHz. Anyway, there's no reason to believe that the filters on the XO are anything unique. I listened to the filters back and forth, since switching between them takes only a second. Listening to classical, orchestral, jazz, pop, rock, podcasts, etc., there was no audible difference at all. The PCM filters on the XO are as impotent as on any other DAC. Frankly, I see no reason why DAC manufacturers cannot implement filters that are actually closer within the human auditory spectrum. Why can't these roll-offs start around, 15 kHz? Another thing you need to keep in mind is that if your music does not reproduce the frequencies that are purportedly affected by DAC filters, then you won't ever be in a position to hear whatever differences are theoretically possible. It just seems to me that in all the DAC forum discussions of how lovely a DAC filter sounds, little to no attention is paid to the other competing factors, such as the human auditory limitations, music frequency range, and the inherent and unchangeable dynamic range of the particular track you're listening to. Having said all of this, the XO's DAC filters have no audible effect. This was corroborated when I tested the XO against the competitors. For the fourth and final test, I wanted to determine if the XO struggled to drive any of my headphones or IEMs. The answer is no. Other than some specialty headphones such as the Modhouse Argon, the XO had no problems providing sufficient power. Every IEM I used got overwhelmingly loud. The 300 ohm HD6XX got plenty of volume through the single inlet, to say nothing of the balance connection. And even the audeze LCD2 and LCD1 performed well, demonstrating that large planars shouldn't pose a problem for the XO. Overall, the XO is a perfectly good device. It has a transparent rendition of music and sounds no different from the competitors I matched it against here. It is quite powerful for the vast majority of headphones. When it comes to portable DAC amps, there's no reason to spend several hundreds of dollars unless there are unique features you actually need. Consequently, products like the $300 AudioQuest Cobalt are not only outdated by design, but also lag far behind cheaper competitors in features and supported resolution. When companies like Eco and FIO introduce alternatives that are cheaper, then why pay more? There are some occasions when spending a few $100s does give you some features not found elsewhere. The Low-to-Paw S1 is one example. With over a dozen pre-programmed EQ options, a bright and useful display, and physical volume buttons, the S1 presents features rarely found on portable or desktop devices. Even the BTR7, despite its flaws and severe software limitations, has some attributes worth considering. The XO does not actually compete with the likes of the BTR7 or the PAW S1. For example, it lacks the features of those two devices. But the XO still offers plenty for consideration at its sub-$100 price. You get very good build, a detachable USB-C cable, balanced topography, sufficient power for the majority of headphones, and gamer LED lights if you want them. It supports every form of PCM, 16x MQA, and DSD-256. And of course, the XO has a transparent sound equal to that of pricier options. If these are the features you want, then the XO delivers. For under $100? Yes, it is value. It might be overkill for some, which is why you have even cheaper options to consider. But for those who want what the XO offers, there is little reason to pay more for competitors.